Welcome to our lesson number 1. I see more and more people are joining. Welcome to Careerist. Welcome to lesson number 1. Today we're going to talk about QA. We're going to talk about quality assurance. We're going to talk about software testing. We're going to talk about the industry, about the salaries, about what we actually do at work. And of course, we're going to answer all of your questions. Just please bear with us, listen carefully. Most of the questions are going to be answered during the webinar, during the lesson. In case you're still going to have questions in the end, I promise to stay and answer all of your questions, all of your concerns. All right? Sounds like a plan. Of course, it is a live. I can see you guys. I'm here. And you will get also the video recording of today's lesson to your email. Probably going to see it tomorrow in your inbox. In case you will not see it in the inbox, it's probably went to your spam or promotion folders in your email. All right? Awesome. So let me introduce myself. My name is Max Lubachansky. I'm the co-founder at Careerist, and I have more than 10 years of experience working at Apple, Intel, and many other Silicon Valley companies as software QA engineer. Also, please see more about my experience and background on LinkedIn. Also, let me introduce you Careerist, hopefully your career partner. We are a leading career training platform pioneered by industry experts to maximize the students' hiring opportunities. And whenever we say industry experts, what we mean by that is that our teachers, our instructors are the best of the best. QA managers, QA leads, software QA engineers, software development engineers and test that come here from the best companies in the world like Google, Apple, Facebook, Intel, AT&T, Bank of America to share with you their experience and knowledge, help you get your maximum possible rate and minimum possible time, and of course to make sure that you will avoid the mistakes that we used to have and that most people are having during this job search in that industry. For those that already watched our previous webinars, for example, you're going to see during the first part of the lesson some things that are going to repeat. But I guarantee and promise you that the second part of the lesson is going to be completely new and you're going to learn a lot of new stuff today. We are supported by more than 300 career staff, which makes us the largest QA online course program in the United States, which allows us to help and support you much more than anyone else ever before. That's why we see fantastic results. Our graduates are already working in more than 1,000 companies in 40 states. Just in 2022, and we just didn't check December yet, but for the first 11 months, we had 430 graduates that got jobs in QA during 2022, and that's only those that reported us about getting the job. So the actual numbers are definitely higher, and we are very super proud of it and very excited to share with you those news. Whenever we say that our graduates are landing high-paying jobs, we mean that the salaries are 65 to 100K for a full-time job, which happens 50% of the time, and the other 50% of the time, our graduates are getting contract jobs that pay $33 to $50 per hour. That's what you're going to see. The average is around $75,000. That's the average. It doesn't mean that you will get the average. You definitely can get more than the average. We're going to teach you how to get up to 100K, up to 50 per hour. I'm just sharing with you numbers and average that we see for the past years. Regarding exceptions, of course happen. Some will get 62K, some will get 115K or 110K or 105K. But most of you are going to see the 70, the 65 to 100K, the 33 to 50 per hour. Regarding the job search, I want you to keep in mind that the job search takes between 2 to 4 months. On average, we see 3-4 months. exceptions happen here as well. Some will get the job after 2 weeks, some will get the job after 4 months and 3 weeks. But as long as you're gonna follow the instructions, you should be able to get the job in approximately 2, 3, 4 months. So please keep that in mind as well. Let me tell you a little bit more about quality assurance, about QA. So QA, it's not Q&A, it's not questions and answers. It actually means quality assurance. And basically the purpose of QA, of quality assurance, is to make sure that everything works, looks, and feels good. The most important part, works good, according to the requirements, according to the design, according to the specs. I will give you an example. Let's imagine a website, a web application, like careers.com or google.com or any other website, or a mobile application, like any app that is installed on your phone, like dating app, food delivery app, car sharing app, you name it. In both cases, someone designed this application, someone implemented the design, created the application, that's the developers usually do, and we as QA people, as quality assurance people, as testers, we just come to double check that whatever was created is according to the requirements, is according to the design, is according to the specs, is according to what is supposed to be there. So we are not fixing problems, we are just reporting the problems. Whenever we see a mismatch between actual and expected behavior, we call it an issue or a bug. And whenever we find such, we report it, we send it to developers, developer supposed to fix the problem, and later send it back to us to double check and verify that it's no longer reproducible on the new version of this application, of this website. Okay, so basically we do two things. One, we find and report the issues, the problems that we see, and two, we double check that after it was fixed, it's no longer reproducible and the issue is no longer there. That's it, that's the job. So if you were worried about doing the job, please don't, because the job is super simple and very straightforward. The problem is definitely not doing the job. The problem is getting the job with maximum possible rate in minimum possible time, and we're definitely going to help fix that problem for you. So what is QA? Software testing, or QA, prevents errors and defects that we also call issues or bugs in software by continuously testing the product and reporting the issues. By the way, today we're going to show you how we report those issues and how we find different bugs and issues. But before that, let's talk about if this training is for you. So first of all, you are looking for a new and better career. In this case, you're in the right place. You need to speak English. People should understand you. You should understand others. You should not have any communication problems with your team, with your manager. It doesn't need to be perfect. You can keep the accent, but definitely people should understand you and you should understand others well. You are ready to accept 65 to 100K salaries, which is around $33 to $50 per hour. That's what you're gonna get very soon. And also you should keep in mind that the job search is between 2 to 4 months in most cases. Of course, if you're planning to work in the US, you should be authorized to work in the US. If you are in Canada, you should be authorized to work in Canada. If you're in other countries, you should be authorized to work in those countries. The salaries that we are talking about here today are for the US and Canada markets. In other countries, you also can get jobs in QA, but the salary is usually 5, 6, 7 times less, which is also nice in many parts of the world. Let's talk about the, I'm sorry, I actually forgot to tell you what you don't need. You don't need any specialized equipment. You don't need to buy anything, you don't need to buy anything, any laptops or something, as long as you have a MacBook, as long as you have a computer or you have a laptop and you have your phone, you gonna be all right. You don't need to buy anything expensive. Once you're gonna get the job, the companies will send you the equipment, the devices, the laptop that you will need for work. So for the lessons, for the QA program with us, as long as you can watch the lessons and you can hear us and see us, you are good to go. You don't need any technical background. You don't need any computer science degree. You don't need any coding, because in manual testing, in manual QA, you don't need any coding. You don't need any computer science. Okay? Awesome. Now let's talk about the salaries, about average salaries. So the best indicator for the average salary in the US is going to be Glassdoor.com. And I want us right now to see how it's doing. So I'm going to Glassdoor.com right now, and I'm searching for software QA engineer in the United States. The average salary is around $86,000. Now, the range that it shows between 70 to 106K, which is very similar to what we told you just now. But I want you to remember that you, after this program, of course, going to have a real on-hand experience after the internship with us that you're going to have after the lessons. You will have an internship with us and an internship with a real company that you will be able to put in your resume with references, with experience that you will be able to show. I'm going to talk about it in more details very soon. But having said that, I want you to understand that you will not be like it shows now, all years of experience. No, you will have less than 1 year of experience after this program. So let's choose here between 0 to 1 year of experience. In that case, you will see that the average salary is going to be around $76,000, and the range is between 63 to 93, which is most likely, and you have a range that is possible, which is more. And that's pretty much the numbers that we're talking about, the 65 to 100K salaries. That's what we see. That's what our graduates are getting. And guess what? That this average of $76,000, that's pretty much the average of our graduates that are getting those numbers after this program. Now, some people are going to tell me, well, I don't know, maybe I'm not going to call myself software QA engineer. Maybe I'm going to call myself QA analyst. Okay, so if you go and search for QA analyst in the US, you will see average salary very similar to that. If you search for QA tester, you're also going to see very similar ranges. And of course, you'll be able to apply to all those jobs because yes, we are software QA engineers, QA testers, QA analysts, and another dozens of other similar names that we're gonna show you very soon that also gonna talk about same kind of job in most cases that you will be able to get after this program. Regarding the opportunities that you will find, you can also go to dice.com, search for QA tester, QA analyst, software QA engineer, and you will see a lot of opportunities, thousands and thousands of positions for QA. It doesn't matter if it's in Texas or Chicago or just name it, any big city in the US, you will have a lot of positions there. Most of the positions are remotely, and of course you can check them out tomorrow or whenever you want, but definitely you're going to have a lot of opportunities that I'm going to talk about very, very soon. So let's get back to our presentation and let's continue from where we left. So we learned two things from this average salary. First of all, that it's growing. Just a year ago, it was around 69, around 70,000. Now it's around 86,000. Definitely the demand is growing. You have more and more opportunities and the salary is growing as well. The second thing that we learned from this number is that average software QA engineer in the US doesn't know any programming, doesn't know any automation. How we know that? Because someone who knows automation, someone who knows programming, they will never work for less than $110,000 or $115,000. That's why those jobs that offer 70, 80, 90, and 100K will get to manual QA like you in most of the cases. Now, you will notice that 80% of the jobs, whenever you're going to search for positions, are going to ask you for more experience, more knowledge, more tools, more automation, more programming, more this, more that. Now, I want you to understand that whenever they offer less than $110,000 or $115,000, they will not find someone who knows it, who's experienced, who knows coding, who knows programming, who knows automation. That's why those jobs will get to manual QA like you, especially if it's 70, 80, 90, and 100K salaries. How do we know that? Well, our graduates are getting those jobs every single day now, literally. This year, 430 people already got the jobs in QA, so it's even more than every day, and we are very proud of it. So just a heads up for you to understand that in the industry, it's a tradition to ask for more, but eventually they will hire someone like you because you're gonna sound good, you're gonna sound better than the average, your resume gonna look better than the average, you're gonna be much better prepared than the average, you're gonna be more confident than the average, we're definitely gonna help you with that. Now let's talk about the benefits of QA jobs. And by the way, guys, I'm gonna answer all of your questions in the end as I promised, okay? I just don't want to go to the chat because I prefer to, first of all, tell you everything you need to know, answer most of the questions during the lesson. In case you're still gonna have questions, I promise to answer those, okay? So let's talk about the benefits of QA jobs. First of all, it's very easy to learn. You don't need any programming skills. You don't need any computer science degree. The compensation is great. 65 to 100K is awesome. It's one of the happiest jobs in the US. According to Forbes, you can Google it, Forbes, happiest job, QA, you find it out. It's actually something that brought me into this industry because I always wanted to know what is the happiest job. And you have a lot of QA job openings, a lot of opportunities, especially now when you can work remotely. Most of our graduates are getting a remote job opportunities. Last time we calculated, it was 57% of our graduates are getting 100% remote jobs, which is amazing. You save time, effort, gas, you spend more time with your loved ones, you can travel more. Definitely highly recommended. I personally work remotely for the past 4 years, and that's just amazing. Of course, it is the quickest way to a job in tech. This is the shortcut into the tech world. And you're also going to have opportunities for career growth. So let's discuss the career growth opportunities. Whenever you just learn the theory, the terminology, you are a junior QA. Then you get your first job or a first internship and you start practicing what you learn. You start, writing test cases, executing test cases, writing bug reports, verifying bug fixes, attending different meetings. And guys, don't worry if you don't really understand what I mean now, because very soon you will. Okay, so you basically do the basics of testing, of QA, whatever you are expected to do in this profession. Once you actually practice what you learn and you do it in real life, and you attend meetings and you communicate with the team and you're using different tools and you're testing different platforms and devices, don't be overwhelmed with those words. It's actually very, very simple. Whenever you're gonna start practicing what you learn, you actually get your real on-hand experience. And at that point, you can start applying not only to the junior level positions, but also to the mid-level positions, which means a normal, regular positions which are not junior, like software QA engineer, QA tester, QA analyst, and many others. So let's call them a mid-level QA, which means a QA with certain experience, with some experience. Of course, all of you will be able to apply for junior and mid-level QA positions after this program, after the internship that we're gonna talk about very soon. So in this range of a junior and mid-level QA, you can get 65 to 100K, 33 to 50 per hour. Yes, for junior and mid-level, for both, you can get those numbers, 65 to 100K, 33 to 50 per hour. In case, many people love it and do it for many, many years, enjoy it, and they are very happy. So this is one option, to just keep doing it for many, many years. But in case that you want to grow, in case that you want to make more than 100K, you have traditional two paths in this industry. One is to become more technical, to learn programming, to learn, like, for example, programming language like Python, to learn automation, to learn algorithms, which is not very simple. And once you learn that, and definitely you can learn it in 15 plus weeks, you will be able to get between 110 to 170K. But you need to keep in mind that manual QA is very simple, very easy, and anyone can do it, while QA automation is more complicated, more sophisticated, and I don't think that everyone can do it. Okay, but of course, if you're going to be dedicated, motivated, and focused, I'm sure that you will be able to do it as well. You should keep in mind that first you want to get your manual QA job, the 65 to 100K salary, and only then you should start learning QA automation as the advanced next level. Until you got your manual QA job, I recommend to stay away from QA automation. Just please keep that in mind, okay? Don't tell me after that I didn't tell you that, okay? So stay away from QA automation until you get manual QA job. Once you get it, of course, we highly recommend to learn QA automation because we want you to grow, we want you to make more money, to be more successful, and to have growth in your career. In case that you are not technical, in case that you don't like coding, in case that you are not really connected to something complicated, in this case, you still can grow and you can go into leadership. You can become a QA lead or a QA manager or a QA director. You will have more meetings, you will have more responsibilities, but with that, you also will be able to make more money, 100K to 170K, definitely range that you can get in leadership of QA. So that's regarding career growth opportunities. Of course, you can become whoever you want. It's just the two traditional paths in our industry. So regarding the job titles that I mentioned before, it could be QA analyst, QA tester, software QA engineer, manual QA, software quality engineer, quality assurance analyst, software quality assurance analyst, functional QA, black box tester, manual QA analyst. Let's see more. Test analyst, QA engineer, quality assurance engineer, quality assurance analyst. So basically different titles, different names that talk about exactly same type of job that you will be able to get. Now, what you get from Careerist is convenient online sessions like one now that are going to be basically the lessons during which you will get practical training from industry experts. It's going to be on Zoom or maybe other platforms in the future where you can watch the videos live. You can ask your questions, you can get your answers. In case you cannot watch it live, you can always watch the video recording. It's going to be sent to you after each and every lesson. After the lessons, which are going to be around 7 weeks, 3 times a week, 2 hours per day, you will be able to join our internship where you're going to practice what you learned and gain real on-hand experience. I'm going to talk more about the internship very soon in more details. After the internship, after the 3.5 minimum weeks of the internship that you can be part of until you get the job for 2, 3, 4 months during your job search, after the 3.5 weeks of the internship, you will be able to join the mentorship where you're going to practice one-on-one with a personal mentor that will help you to sound better, to be better prepared, to make sure that you're ready for the job search, to make sure that you're ready to get this job. Once we make sure that, we help you with the resume, with the LinkedIn, with the instructions, with the support, with much more until you get the job, until the victory. Even during the job search, we're going to help you not only with support, but also we're going to help you with the references. Once you get the job, we're going to help you with the job search. We have a job application service which will gather the relevant positions in one place for you to save your time and effort and to apply to more jobs, more opportunities to get more calls, more interviews, and more job offers. So guys, I of course invite all of you to enroll into the program that starts today. Today is lesson number 1. I'm sure that you will see the button below with your contract. All you need to do is just to click the get button, and it will open you the different options that you can choose. I will talk about them very soon in more details, I promise. Okay, cool. Let me introduce you our instructors. We have Patrick Siebenthal with over 6 years of experience at Facebook, Google, and Intel. We have Lana Levinson, senior software developer in test with over 8 years of experience working at Reddit and many other companies. We have Ignacio Britos with over 14 years of experience at McAfee and many other companies. Brandon Cowley, a software QA engineer at Beachbody. I'm sure you met him during our webinars. We have Maria Navarrete with over 14 years of experience in QA, working at Xerox, Dell Tech Systems. We have Alex Wastovich, QA manager with over 9 years of experience. We have Vitaly Yerokhin, QA automation engineer with over 12 years of experience working at Indeed. We have Sofia Tsapchuk, over 8 years of experience. She's the QA manager at Ring Central. We have Yuri Sokolov. You're going to meet him. You're going to teach the second part of the lesson today. He's a QA lead at Google with over 10 years of experience in manual and automated testing. He's also the head of our manual QA course at Careerist. You're also going to meet Hezron Padlan with over 12 years of experience working at AT&T, Bank of America, Google. You're going to meet Natalia Zahur, a QA manager with a decade of experience at companies like Apple and Intel. You already met me with over 10 years of experience at Apple, Intel as well. And Michael Berkansky, QA engineer working at Indeed, also going to be one of our instructors. Our graduates work for some of the world's most innovative companies. We are very proud of them. We have already more than 1,000 companies where our graduates are working in 40 states. It could be huge companies like the one you see in front of you. It could be small companies. It could be mid-level companies. Just you name it. Any big company that you know, our graduates most likely already working there. And actually, we have a lot of people working at Google, Apple, Facebook, Intel. You can get those jobs there as well. But I recommend to focus on getting the 65 to 100K salaries and not on the company name, because you're going to have so much different opportunities. You don't want to limit yourself. That's about our amazing results. And this is our success map where our graduates are currently working. So it's already 40 states. And when we just started, people told us, no, it's probably only in California and New York. No, it's everywhere, especially now when 57% of our graduates are getting remote jobs. Anywhere you can get between 70 to 80K, let's say 65 to 80K anywhere on that map, which is 33 to 40 per hour. But whenever you search for the job in the states and cities that I'm going to mention right now, you also can get 100K up to 50 per hour. For example, in New York, in New Jersey, in Chicago, in Seattle, San Francisco, LA, San Jose, you definitely can get up to 100K, up to 50 per hour. And we also see exceptions. For example, most of our graduates in Florida and Texas and Atlanta, Georgia are getting 70 to 80K. But sometimes we have people getting 90 and 100 and 105, and people exactly like you, without technical background, without prior experience, besides the internship that they got with us. So definitely you can get even more, and exceptions going to happen. But because now you can work remotely, it doesn't matter where you live. Even if you live in Nebraska or Kansas or Colorado, you can get a job in New York, in San Francisco, in LA, in Miami. It doesn't matter because you can work remotely. So you have now much more opportunities than ever before. So guys, let me show you really quick what we actually do at work. I'm sure that right now, some of you not really sure what is this job? What are we doing at work? And I'm gonna show you really quick what type of job it is. So I'm gonna share my screen with you. Boom. Let's go just for a website, okay? This is a website, it's an e-commerce where you can buy different clothes, you can add them to favorites, you can watch them, you can add them to your cart, okay? I'm sure that you saw similar websites, maybe reminds you Amazon. Anyway, remember I told you that first thing first, we test how things work. So for that, we test the functionality, how things work. So we go to this link, we make sure that it doesn't crash, that it loads the page. It did, awesome. So the functionality of the page loads. Next, we test the functionality of the buttons. So for example, we have a button here, we click it, it takes us to the home page. Well, it's supposed to be like that probably because that's usually what should happen once you click that button. Again, different requirement, different specs. Maybe someone will have here a different link. Just let's make sure that it takes us to the right page. Of course, once we have the requirements, we can compare and double check that. So whenever we click search, it shows the search. Whenever we click the cart, it opens the cart, okay? So that's the functionality that we are talking about. Another example going to be making sure that the buttons take us to the right place. So for example, we have here a shop now button. Once I click it, nothing happens. That's a functional issue. The button is not working. It definitely was supposed to take me to the shopping now page, but it didn't. So that's a problem that we definitely want to report. Another example of functional issue going to be drop down menu, for example. If you click the drop down menu, boom, it drops down with the menu. If you drop up the menu, it drops up the menu, okay? If you go to, for example, specific model like Toyota Crown, never heard of it, but let's just see what it is. Boom, it takes you to the right page of Toyota Crown. Great, awesome. So that's what we call functionality. Once we tested the functionality, which is the most important part, we move to test how things look. We call it a UI testing, which stands for user interface, or GUI testing, graphic user interface, how things look. For example, on this page, you see the model on the right, her face is covered, is cut off, it's truncated, it looks weird, it looks strange. And we are advocating the customers. We are the voice of the customers. Whenever we see something that looks weird, that looks strange, that looks incomplete, that hard to see, hard to read, it could be grammar mistake, spelling mistake, misaligned, truncated, we report it. So definitely it looks weird. We definitely want to double check how it's supposed to look according to the design. I have a feeling that it's not supposed to be like that. Okay, so that's one example of something we want to report as a bug. If we had the requirements and the design right now, right here, we would compare, but sometimes we don't. Sometimes we just need to use common sense, like in this case. So it looks weird, it looks strange, let's write a bug, send it to developer. Worst case scenario, they're gonna tell us, you know what, it's supposed to be like that, don't worry. But we definitely want to let them know that it looks weird. Another example of a UI issue gonna be here. You see this guy on the right? Once we bring the mouse over him, once we hover the mouse to him, you see it moves to the left. So whenever it moves, it hides the N letter in the word fashion. We call it overlapping. Whenever one element hides another element, it could be a button that hides a text, or a button that hides a button, or a text that hides a different text. You know what I mean. I'm sure you saw it before. Whenever something is incomplete, you cannot see it, it's hidden. So that's what is being called overlapping. Another example going to be whenever something is misaligned, like those check boxes here that I check right now. You see they don't appear on the same line. It looks strange. It looks weird. That's not what we want. We want everything to be aligned. Like here, you see, this is misaligned. This field is misaligned to here, misaligned to here, misaligned to this, to this. It looks weird, looks strange, not organized. We don't like it. We want to report it. Another example is consistency. You see those models, whenever I bring the mouse over here, it changes the background to blue while keeping the same image. Here the same. But whenever I go to the third image, you will see that the image changed. You see it here, it's not, here it does. So this is inconsistent behavior that we definitely want to report. How to report? Very easy. Let me show you how. So I will give you an example. You see here, high salaries and demand. The icon here is missing. It's not found, is not loaded, it's not there, right? It looks great. You see the here, it's supposed to be an icon, but it's not. So how are we going to report that problem? First of all, we're going to create a screenshot. We're going to click Command-Shift-4, just an example on MacBook Pro, and you can choose the area that you can screenshot. If you have Windows, you can just go to Start, Menu, Search, Snipping Tool with double P, Snipping Tool, and it will allow you to create a screenshot as well. Don't need to do it right now. We will teach you during the lessons. It's very simple. It's very easy. Don't worry about it. You will learn in 5 minutes. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. So I'm creating the screenshot of the problem to make life easier for developers to see where is the problem and what is the problem without even reading the description. So whenever we created this screenshot of the area that we found the issue, where we found the issue, we are going to the most popular bug tracking system in the world. It's called Jira, and of course, all of you are going to have access to it during the program. You will be able to master it. All you need to know right now is this create button. Most companies are using Jira, and other companies are using something very similar to Jira. So once you know Jira, you will be able definitely to work with bug tracking systems. So that's basically whenever we click the create button here, it opens the bug report and create an issue. That's the bug report. First of all is the project name. Let's call it demo because we practice. Issue type is bug report. That's what we write. We write bug reports. That's our job. Then we have the title. The summary is supposed to be short and informative to show everyone what and where is the problem. To save your time, I already filled that out. So basically the problem is that high salaries and demand icon is missing. So we're gonna write main page. Let's call it the main page. Let's take this copy. Let's copy this link, and let's write main page. High salaries and demand icon is missing. Description with steps to reproduce actual expected behavior to be able to find the issue as soon as possible. So basically steps, go to this link. 2, observe high salaries and demand section. Icon is missing. That's the actual results, and the expected results icon should be visible, okay? You don't need a PhD in English literature to write it down. It's very, very straightforward and simple. Then we have the priority, how important the problem to the company. Of course, we care a lot about our customers. That's why a missing icon on the main page is definitely a serious problem for us, and we're going to call it a high priority issue. You can do it lower, low, medium, high, highest. Higher the priority will be, faster it's going to be addressed, faster it's going to be theoretically fixed. Because higher the priority, faster the developer is going to take care of it. Some companies care about how things look. Some companies care about how things work. Some companies care about both. So you will feel it during the first weeks of work, what they care about, what they don't, what is higher priority, what is lower priority. Environment, where it was reproducible. Was it on your MacBook? Was it on your Windows? Was it on your Android phone? Was it on your iOS device, right? So this is just an example of different environments that potentially you could find the issue on. Attachments, you can add the screenshot that we just created. Remember, we created the screenshot over here. It's saved on your desktop, so you can attach it by clicking here. Then we have assignee, who's going to take care of the problem. Usually you work with 1 or 2 different developers. Let's just choose my name. But in real world, you will work with 1, 2, or 3 different developers. One going to take care of web, one going to take care of mobile, one going to take care of backend. You, after a couple of days, sometimes weeks at work, you will know who's going to take care of what, and you're going to assign it to those people. Sometimes you don't even need to do that. You just assign it to your manager or a lead or development manager or product manager, and they assign it to the relevant people. Depends on the culture in your company. So, okay, very simple. Project name, issue type, the title, short and informative, should show everyone what and where is the problem, description with steps to reproduce, action, expected behavior, priority, how important the problem to the company, the environment, where it was reproducible, the attachment, could be screenshot, could be video recording, and assignee. Then we click the create button, and boom, we just created our first bug report. That's how it looks. Okay, the title, the description, the environment, assignee, reporter, priority. You can leave a comment here. You can add another attachment if necessary. Was that complicated? I don't think so. I think it was very, very simple, and I'm sure that all of you can definitely do that. Let's talk really quick about the plan of the course. You're going to have the lessons for 7 weeks. The hours and the day is going to be Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, which means that lesson number 2 is going to be on Sunday. The time is going to be 8:30 to 10:30 p.m. Eastern time, which is 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. If you cannot watch it live, you can always watch the video recording that's going to be sent to you after each and every lesson. After the 7 weeks of the lessons, you will join the internship, which is going to be 100% remote. It's unpaid internship, it's 100% remote, and it's for you to practice what you learn. The first 1.5 weeks is going to be internal project with our internal internship to prepare you for the real project with the real company that you're going to have. After that, the internship will be at least 2 hours per day, at least for 3.5 weeks. You can be part of it until you get the job during your job search for 2, 3, 4 months. So every month of your job search, your experience will grow. The minimum is 3.5 weeks. You would like to be part of it until you get the job, you are very welcome. What time? You can choose the time that works best for you, in the morning, in the lunchtime, in the evening, sometimes during weekends. Don't worry about the time. The internship is very, very flexible, and you will be able to choose whatever works best for you with the lead of the internship. After the internship, actually after the 2nd week of the internal real project with our partners, you will be able to start your mentorship, which is basically one-on-one sessions with the mentor. It's going to be 2-3 times a week. You're going to have those sessions to make sure that you prepared well, that you're following instructions, that you sound good, that you're ready to get the job. And once we make sure that, first of all, if not, the mentor will help you to improve, to sound better, to be better prepared, to get the job as soon as possible. Once we make sure that you sound okay and you're ready, we're definitely going to help you with the resume, with the LinkedIn, with the instruction, with the support, with the references, with all you need to get this job as soon as possible. Of course, the preparation for the interview and the job search, as we mentioned before, is 2 to 4 months. We're going to teach you all you need: the theory, the terminology, web testing, mobile testing, prepare you for the market. We're going to teach you the tools that you're going to need. Writing bug reports in Jira, creating test cases in TestRail, mobile, web testing, compatibility testing, different platforms and devices, iOS, Android, Windows, Mac, functional and UI testing, black box testing, API, Postman, Charles, SQL, Unix and ADB commands, Xcode and Android Studio, Chrome DevTool, Browser Stack, and much, much more. We will teach you what you need, and we will not teach you what you don't. We are here to save your time and effort, so we will focus you on what you really need to not only do the job, but also to get the job and to keep the job. The course timeline looks like that. The lessons for 7 weeks. Then you're going to have the internship. It's all remote for 3.5 weeks. After the internship, you will start the mentorship, and you can continue the internship until you get the job, by the way. The mentorship going to be 4+ weeks, for some people more, for some people less. Depends on your English, on your confidence, on your preparation. And it's okay. We are here for you, and we're going to help you anyway. So basically, after the mentorship, you will start the job search, which is going to be 2 to 4 months. I hope that things become much more clear now. And as I mentioned before, during your job search, we're going to give you access to our job application service that allows to gather the relevant positions in one place to save your time and effort while looking for the job, while looking for the positions. We're going to help you with that to gather the relevant positions in one place and to allow you to apply for more jobs, to get more calls, more interviews, and more job offers. It's part of your service. You don't need to pay any extra for that. Let's talk finally about the prices. So we have different options. And just to remind you, I'm going to answer all of your questions in the end. So regarding the prices, we have the upfront option, which is $3,500. You get your manual QA program, and that's basically everything, right? The lessons, the internship, the mentorship, the support during the job search. Everything we mentioned today, you can get for $3,500. In case that you cannot pay upfront, you have the option to choose the credit option, because we partnered with Climb Credit, and it allows you to just make payments of $232 per month for approximately 20 payments, which is approximately $4,640. The reason I'm saying approximately is because it depends on your credit score. But definitely that's a great option for those that cannot pay the upfront. It's definitely a great option for them. In case that you want to get our bundle, which gonna have both panel QA and QA automation you will be able to take in the future after you get your manual QA job, at least according to my personal recommendation to you guys, it's gonna be $5,750. You get both manual QA and QA automation that you can take once you get the manual QA job, or at least after 4 months of active job search. I highly recommend you to start learning automation only after you get your 65 to 100K job in manual QA. So that's regarding the prices, that's regarding the options. If you have more questions, you can email advisors@careers.com. I'm going to answer your questions at the end of the lesson as I promised. And I just want to remind you about our guarantee. Because we are fully committed to your success, we now offer 100% money-back guarantee if you don't land the job in tech within 1 year of graduation. Refund eligibility requirements, including but not limited to, are to complete the training, submit all the assignments, the projects, follow job search instructions, and much more. You can read more details on our website in the section about the guarantee. So guys, reserve your seats. You still can join today's lesson number 1. The fun part starts here, and now you're going to meet Yuri, our QA lead at Google and our head of manual QA with over 10 years of experience. He's going to take the lesson from here. You can ask Yuri questions about the material. In case you're going to have questions about the program, I recommend to wait with those, because I'm going to answer those questions at the end together
Hello,
with
Max.
Yuri.
Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing today?
Yuri, can you hear us? Can you see
Hi,
us?
Ferdinand.
The class is all yours.
Yes, I think...
Yuri, are you there? You're going to see probably now a real
can you guys hear
production bug, guys.
Hold on, give me a second.
Yuri, can you hear me? Can you see me? Can you turn your camera? Let's check what's going on.
At least you guys can let me know in the chat room that everything is fine. If we have a technical, can you hear me and see me?
Issue.
Okay.
Let's see.
Max, I'm in the lesson. Restart your browser. All right, let's try it again. Does everyone can hear me and see me well? Interesting. Okay. All right, so if you have issues, just reload your browser. Try refresh. See, it's a website. It can have issues. Let me try to turn off my camera and turn it on again. All right. Okay, let's start.
I just want to remind you guys that I will
First of all, welcome everyone to this amazing lesson that we prepared for you. My name is Yuri Sokolov. I've been working as a quality assurance engineer for more than 10 years now. Various companies, Google, various projects, startups like Smule. And for the past 3 years, I've been working with Careerist, first as an instructor, and over the past few years, I'm ahead of a manual QA program. So whatever you see right now, we created with our instructors. And this whole course is designed to get you guys from 0 to 100, from basically from point A to point Z, where you actually get the job. So feel free to ask questions, and we will answer them as we go. Let's start. So what is software quality assurance? So as Max said earlier, software quality assurance, it's a process of monitoring software development procedures to ensure quality. The way software development works is in the software company, software designers, let's say, they need to come up with an idea to, let's say, add a new functionality to a website, or add a new functionality to a mobile application. Like Facebook, for example, someone decides they need a new, I don't know, screen or new activity on the feed, right? So they would come up with requirements, and then those requirements will be taken to engineers, an engineering department, and those are coders. So those are software developers. They will physically code the software. All right. Then before the software will be released to billions of customers, billions of our users, someone needs to test it to make sure that it works, to make sure that it satisfies our acceptance criteria, to make sure that it basically does what it's supposed to, looks like it's supposed to. So it goes into quality assurance department, it goes into QA department, and we as a QA engineers, we test the product against the requirements, but not only. We basically use the product, we use the web page, we use the new system, and we verify that it works exactly like we expect it to work. Okay, when we test as a software quality assurance engineers, when we test, we find issues, right? And when we find issues, our job is to report those issues to developers, because developers are responsible for fixing those problems. And this cycle continues until we say, okay, we think that all major issues are addressed, there are no major bugs or problems, and our software or newly added stuff to, like a feature to the software, is ready to go into production. Okay, so after that the release happens and the software goes to your cell phones, the software goes to your computers. So software quality assurance is preventative. What this means is that quality assurance engineers, they are participating in the entire cycle. For example, when planning is done, when requirements are created, engineers, designers, they will need some form of an input, some form of a quality assurance input to make sure that everything that we do throughout the cycle basically follows the quality assurance practices, right? So SQA, or software quality assurance, is preventative. It analyzes the whole process of software development, which includes this requirements design, development, testing, release, deployment, and maintenance. So one important thing, guys, I want you to pretty much memorize or understand. It is not possible to create a bug-free software or error-free software. Why? Because the system is so complex. It is ridiculously complex, especially these days. All websites and mobile applications, they have all these microservices, third-party tools and stuff. Complexity is insane. So the purpose of quality assurance is to not catch all the bugs. It's not to catch and find all the problems and all the issues, but to minimize the number of critical bugs to an acceptable level. So far, so good, guys. Do you have any questions? Is that clear? So it's an important thing to understand that there are always going to be bugs. There are always going to be issues. Every software that you use, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, they all have bugs. The fact that you didn't encounter those today or tomorrow is probably because they have a pretty big QA department. But sometimes I can bet you that you see those bugs. I can bet you that occasionally you go to your mobile device to check some website or an application and it crashes, or something doesn't load, or payment doesn't work. I see those things, I don't know, at least twice a week, and I'm not even looking for those things. And those are applications that went through, rigorous testing cycle already. So let's talk about what is software testing. There's a bit of sometimes a misunderstanding about what is the difference between quality assurance and software testing. Think about quality assurance as a preventative part. So it's more about approach, more about requirements, analysis, process, and stuff. It's more of about the process, by the way. Testing, it's a reactive part. It's a functional part where we actually test. So as I explained earlier, first we have design stage, development stage, and then we have a testing stage, okay? And then we have deployment and so on. So software testing, it means that we have a product and we have expected result, so our requirements. Let's say we have a button and we click on this button and we expect it to do something, right? So we click on the button, expect for the picture to pop up. Testing is clicking on that button and verifying that image is popping up, for example, right? That is what we expect eventually. If for some reason it doesn't work, it constitutes an error or a bug. That's pretty much it. So software testing is a functional part of quality assurance that determines that the end result is what we expected. So what software testers do, they check the product against requirements and detect bugs by inspecting and testing an application or a feature or a service under test. So various methods and techniques are used to test the product. Okay, we will cover basic, like fundamental ones today. For now, you don't really need to memorize much of it, what I'm about to explain. I see a question in the chat room, like how we can remember each topic. For now, you don't remember anything unless I tell you to. If something in my presentation is going to be important enough for you to memorize, I will let you know, which is really convenient. Okay, so let's talk about the techniques and the testing types. First, we'll start with manual testing. So I'll read a definition, then I'll explain what it means. Manual testing is what we did today, is what we were trying to explain, is a technique, right, which basically says that tester plays the role of an end user. So an end user verifies how the software works, how all the features work, based on hers or his experience as an end user. So which means that we don't use the code, we don't use sophisticated tools, right? We test things manually as an end users. Our end users don't know, coding or programming. They don't know, sophisticated testing techniques. They expect the software that is presented in front of them to work. It's very basic, it's very straightforward. So manual testing, it's kind of like a fundamental technique of testing. Anyone can do manual testing. If you open your Instagram application and start, browsing or exploring, you're pretty much performing manual testing. That's what it is. If something doesn't work, manual testers report bugs, right? So we create bug reports, which Max already showed you how we do it. It's pretty straightforward, it's pretty simple. And then developers are responsible for fixing those, okay? This is the cycle, it continues, and we follow the cycle until we say that it is good to, our release or our software is good to go. Sometimes manual testers design so-called test scenarios. They're also called test cases. Maybe some of you heard about this particular terminology. But test case, it's a short explanation. It's a short documentation of what we need to test and what we expect to do. For example, the test case is verify that clicking on the button results in a picture popping up. That's it. It will have steps and expected result. This is the test case. Test cases are created to kind of like remind us what to test, to not forget on what to test. It's very simple. It's very straightforward. It's very logical. It does not require computer science. It does not require sophisticated knowledge of computers and systems and so on. Very intuitive. So manual testers design test scenarios and execute them one by one before verifying the results. Any difference between the actual and desired results are treated as defect and bugs. So what else manual QA engineers, manual testers do? They also participate in the maintenance stage. So after we released our software, right? After the software was pushed to our customers, there's still a way for our clients to come back to us, return to, so basically send their feedback to us saying like, hey guys, I think something is broken. So every time you use an application or a website, you will be able to find some way to contact developers, like contact us form or maybe report a bug form. I'm sure that most of you have seen it before. Okay, guys, do you have any questions, or I can continue? All right, perfect. Don't wait, enroll today, because tomorrow may never happen. So might as well enroll today. Now, let's talk about another technique. So we covered manual testing. Again, manual testing, we test something manually, like an end users, without any other sophisticated help. There is another technique which is super popular. It's called automated testing. Let me know in the chat room how many of you heard about automated testing, or maybe you looked it up online, or maybe it's something you want to learn, or maybe it's it's a hot thing. All right. Oh, I see a lot of people. Okay, it's good to know. All right. So you're in luck, because today we will cover differences between automated testing, and we will cover we will address some misconceptions, misunderstandings about what is manual and what is automated, and what is the difference, and why do we need that and not that, right? So automated testing, it's a technique that involves execution of test cases using special automated software tools. Automation testers convert the manual test cases into scripts. They also identify which test cases can be automated and are responsible for maintenance and monitoring. The trick here is, guys, that automation testing, so automation testers, they don't really test technically. What they do is they take a test case that was written by manual QA engineer in most cases, and they use a coding language or scripting language or a framework. There are hundreds of them, right? To take this test case and automate it to make sure it can be run automatically by the computer. Okay? So there is a huge misconception about roles of each teams. Manual testers, they do most of the testing. They do most of the planning and test planning and stuff like that. Automation testers, they approach the same thing from a point of what can we automate. As you can understand, these are two different teams, and they have totally different purposes. It's not like something is cooler than the other. It's not like something is more important than the other. No, it's not. So let me break it down for you by going by pros and cons, right? So what are the pros of automated testing? It saves time by running repetitive tests multiple times a day. It's a good, valid point. For example, imagine yourself being a QA engineer and your job is to test, I don't know, Google, for example, Google login flow. So you go in, you click on the login button, you type in your username and password, you click login button, right? So imagine you as a person, as a human being, you would have to perform the same test 10 times a day. It's repetitive, it's basic, it's boring, right? So why would you do that? It is better to automate this test because it's going to be there for a long time, as it was there for a long time, because login form doesn't really change that often, right? So it makes sense for a company to spend time to automate this test, and instead to spend more, so you as a manual key engineer will spend more time on things that are new, like new features, right? For example, new things that they were just added. The second pros is faster test cycles allow testers to identify software errors much more quickly. So this is one of those things that it is true, but not really true. For example, from my personal experience, as I was working as an automation key engineer for 3 years now, some tests that manual key engineer would execute within, I don't know, 10 seconds. In automation, it would take like 3 minutes for the test to run. In the grand scheme of things, when you have like hundreds of them and thousands of them, it turns out to be a complex project. It turns out to be a complex work which will take hours. So it's not really that fast, to be honest, in some cases, but there are other cases where it's actually faster. The third part is it provides more accurate results by eliminating the possibility of human error. So this is the good one, because as you can imagine, people tend to make mistakes. If I'll give you a task to check the same button 100 times a day, for example, I can guarantee that at least few times you will make some form of mistake, right? Computer or automated test is designed to not make a mistake because it will always basically go through the same process. It's a machine. However, there is a point I need to bring in this particular subject. What if, let's say, a test designed to verify a button on the web page, but let's say next to this button there's an icon, and for some reason the icon was broken, and it just doesn't come up, it doesn't show up. So automated test will not see this problem, it will not register it because it only designed to test, to verify one specific functionality. Okay? While manual QA engineer will catch it right away, even though the test was about the button, but the manual person, because we can see we have common sense and analytical skills, and we actually have eyes and brains, we can see that if the icon is broken next to the button, it means that definitely something is wrong. The trade-off, why automation testing is not perfect yet. In order to run automated testing, you need to have a specialized equipment. You need to have a test bed, servers to be able to run, and it's pretty costly and heavy equipment. You need to hire people with technical background, because manual testing can be performed by pretty much anyone. But automation testing, you will need to know some formula code, some frameworks and stuff like that. So technical background, computer science degrees, or coding skills are necessary. It means it's going to be harder to find people. All right. So to summarize what I was trying to explain about this slide, both of those techniques and both of those areas are important, and companies that are successful companies that try to build a good system, they usually will have a team of manual QA engineers, and they will have a team of automation QA engineers, and they will work together. So they will not kind of like substitute each other. They will work together. They will complement each other. And this way, the company will, strive, succeed. So in terms of what to learn first, it is better to start with fundamentals. And fundamentals you learn by manually testing things. Okay? Automation, it's more of a tool. It's more about tools and techniques and approaches. If you're a good manual QA engineer, you will succeed in automation testing. Obviously, if you learn extra, skills, right? But if you're never heard about manual testing, never learned about manual testing techniques and touch the product, and you just learn the code and go apply for automation testers, you will be pretty terrible tester, automation tester for that matter. Does it make sense, guys? Do you have any questions? All right. So looks like makes sense. Good. Now, question is, are we getting credit for this session? Of course. You'll get my seal of approval as well. So let's cover things like testing types. So there are over 50 different subtypes of testing, so this is kind of important, guys. All right. So historically, testing was not that, just to give you a bit of a history, quick lesson. Historically, quality assurance was not that formalized as well as software engineering, for example. It's not a well-developed industry. It's fairly new, to be honest. Maybe the first, the current state of quality assurance engineering it dates maybe, I don't know, maybe like 40 years ago, versus engineering goes like almost 100 years ago. Anyway, it's not as formulated. So we have many different techniques. But for manual QA engineers, we don't really care because we only focus on few of them. And those few we'll start covering today, and we'll continue with our lesson number 2. All right, so this is important stuff, and it's something you actually need to learn, memorize, be able to explain. So get off your Facebook applications and start looking at the screen. Black box, gray box, and white box. In black box testing, the tester examines the functionality of an application without having access to the source code. I'll read all of them. They'll explain the difference. In gray box testing is where it's a combination. I'm sorry. Let's start with the white box. In white box testing, tester designs additional tests based on an analysis of the source code. Gray box testing is a combination of white box and black box testing. The aim is to search for defects due to an incorrect software architecture or improper use and application. Now, I understand that everyone lost me pretty much on the word black box. So let me try to explain the difference. So these are very, very high level concepts of testing. Black box testing says that when QA engineer tests something without understanding, without like deep understanding of how it works. For example, if I will download an application, I don't know, let's the TikTok, right? And I will decide to test it. What I will do, I will test it as a user. So I will, go with whatever the flow the user does, and I will come up with testing results. As you can see, it's more of what we are trying to achieve with the manual testing, because again, black box is all about acting as someone who doesn't know the requirements, doesn't know the internal structure. So our end users, right? So they're black box testers. White box is, it means that a person has a very, very in-depth knowledge of how the software is built. So they are able to design tests, additional tests, based on internal system structure, like code, for example. Gray box, it's a combination of both. When your test involves testing from, let's say, user perspective, and also checking the internal structure. I'll give you an example of gray box testing so it would make more sense to you. For example, if my task is to test, let's say, a registration functionality for whatever the website is, random website, fictional website. There is a registration form, and my job is to test the registration flow. Yeah. So from black box perspective, I would, as a user, I would go to the website. I would type in my email. I would create like password, click on register button, and I will probably be redirected to some form of a confirmation page, right? As a black box tester, which will end up, pretty visual UI kind of a thing. Perfect. But from another perspective, let's say I have, as a QA engineer, I have access to the database, because every time we create a user, obviously it's stored somewhere. This user data is stored somewhere, usually in a database or the form of a database. Okay. So let's say I can also have access to this database, and I can check, I can look into the database, and I can check if the user is actually there after I created the account, or it's not there. So combination of both these two things will result in the gray box testing, if that makes sense, right? Because I tested from a black box perspective, and I also looked up from the internal structure. So that is the example of a gray box. And everything on the sides are either straight up black box or white box. Usually white box, of course, it's very, very much technical. It requires a much different skill set. Okay, so white box is very niche kind of a profession, kind of a career. Black box is what we'll focus on. Gray box is sometimes we use as manual QA engineers. Sometimes companies will give us tool to access, let's say, database, and we'll have access to it, and we can test by using it. So it will come up as a gray box testing. But in 95%, our work will start with the black box testing. The question is, so basically black box is manual end user, white box is understanding coding and automation. White box is not really about automation. Automation is just a technique. It's not really a type of testing. It's a technique. But understanding of a code is needed. Another question is white box a developer? Not necessarily. No, not necessarily. White box tester usually doesn't develop like software itself. They develop tests using code around the code, if that makes sense. It doesn't mean that it will be automated, but usually it is. But those things are not really connected per se. All right. So another thing that you need to pretty much memorize, and I'll try to give you example so it will be easier for you. Functional testing and non-functional testing. What functional testing is? Testing what the software does based on its specifications. It's verifying how compliant it is with specified functional requirements. Non-functional testing it's testing of software application for its non-functional requirements. How well the software functions rather than in specific behaviors. So functional testing answers the question or provides the answer to the question of what the software does, while non-functional testing provides the answer to the question of how well the software does it. Really good example, very basic example. Google search, right? Google search. I'm sure everyone used Google search here at least once in their life. Let's take a very basic test case for Google search. We go to the Google search or google.com. We type in the query. Let's say we come up with the query. We need to test the Google search functionality, basically. So we'll come up with a query like how to, I don't know, boil an egg. And we click on the search icon and we see a list of search results. From functional point of view, this test case will pass, right? Because we're testing what the software does. So literally the test case will look like this. Go to the Google search, type in the query, click on the search icon, expected result, see the list of search results. If we see the list of search results, we consider that the test case passed from functional point of view. From non-functional point of view, however, it's a bit different because we can follow the same steps. We can go to the Google search, we can input the query, we can click on the search icon, but the expected result, since the purpose of a test is different, is going to be different. For example, we need to test how well the software does it. So, how long will it take for Google to return the list of search results? It can take Google 1 second, or it can take Google 20 seconds. And within that range, if something is acceptable to us, something is not. From functional perspective, even if after 20 seconds Google returns the list of search results, we're fine, right? But from non-functional, we're testing how well it does it. So we'll have a criteria, or how long should the Google take in order to return results? Or, for example, how many search results does the Google return? If we see a web page of like 12 results, technically it still works. But how well it does it, there's going to be a different metric to test it. We expect probably, I don't know, 100 million results. Or, for example, another example would be how relevant are the results and stuff like that. But you guys get the picture, right? The purpose of non-functional testing is not to test the actual functionality, like what it does, but to test all the other metrics that we measure how well the software is, how well the software performs. Okay, so that's what's the main difference between functional and non-functional testing. I'll tell you right away that non-functional testing is mostly performed by very specific people, usually not average testers. It's performed by either software engineers or very, very high level, high skilled, highly trained people to perform this kind of test, because it will require to use certain tools and certain applications to measure. Okay. With functional, it's easy. And by the way, you will, in 90% of your workload, when you get a job as a QA, you will be focusing on functional testing. So non-functional testing, it's something you still need to know, because you just need to know this. These are fundamentals. So even if you will never practice it in your lifetime, which I never practiced non-functional testing in my lifetime, probably never, or maybe just barely touched it in 10 years. It doesn't mean you don't have to know what it is, and you still need to be able to explain it. That's why we will help you with that. And some things you just basically have to memorize, even though you will never touch it in your life. So far, so good. Can I continue? All right. Okay. I'm about to start. I'm about to stop torturing you for the day, and more common types of testing is coming. So remember, I told you that QA engineers have 50 different types of testing we use, but we mainly need only a few of them. Okay, so I'll read and I'll explain each and every one of them. So these three, as a QA engineer, as a manual QA engineer, when you join the company, you probably will be using these on pretty much daily basis. The rest is not that much, not that often. So I'll read, I'll provide the definition, I'll explain the difference. Let's start with exploratory testing. Exploratory testing is an approach. Technically, it's not really a testing type. It's an approach to software testing that focuses on discovery, learning, and investigation, and relies on creativity, experience, and intuition of an individual tester to quickly uncover defects. It is often described as simultaneous test design and execution. So remember, guys, I told you that QA engineers, we use documentation in order to test, right? So we have some form of a requirement page which will tell us what to do, like what to test, what we should expect to see. Sounds good, doesn't work in real life. Why? Because in most cases, documentation is created for small parts of features, like for small things. For example, if product department decides to add like a new button, they will create documentation for that button, right? And then they will create documentation for another button, and so on. But we as a users, we as a manual QA engineers, we somehow have to test the application as a whole, and there is no such thing as a documentation as a whole for the whole application or a whole website. It just doesn't exist these days. Companies, they don't really want to spend much time writing documentation at all. That's the honest truth, and something that you basically have to live with. It means that you will not have lots of documentations to rely on, which means that you'll have to use your own cognitive skills and common sense to create test scenarios in your head and basically try to break software. Because apparently we test the product as a whole. We don't just test one button, right? We eventually go for the whole web page or for the whole application to make sure that it actually works. And most of your time you will spend actually exploring. Another part of while exploratory testing is important is because it allows you to get familiar with the software. For example, I will give you an application to test which you never touched in your life. as an example. How would you approach the task of testing an application that you never touched in your lifetime, or you never watched the requirements, never seen the requirements? You will explore it. You will, tap all the buttons. You will try all the functionalities. You will build in your head, you will build a structure of this application strictly by exploring it. And in, I would say, 80% better percent, like, I don't know, in 80% of cases, you will be just following that practice. You will be exploring a lot. Now, let's talk about the smoke testing. Smoke testing covers the most important functionality of the software and verifies that the software appears to work correctly. It precedes the actual in-depth testing and aims to verify that the build is deployed successfully and that all components are running and ready for the actual test process. A little bit of a history lesson again. The name software testing comes from early 20th century, where we would have the assembly lines or factories assembling the, let's say, appliances or some other mechanical things, right? Like refrigerators and toaster ovens. And the first test they would have after they would pull out the unit from the conveyor line, assembly line, they would plug it in and turn it on. And if they would see the smoke coming out of it, they say, well, it obviously is faulty. So the idea of having a toaster, which you can plug it in and switch it on, within a second, if you see a smoke, it constitutes that there's a major issue, basically a hardcore defect right out of the assembly line. So hence the name that we have right now is also smoke testing. So what it means in our, in our reality, in our career, it means that, okay, so what it means is the way the software is developed, as you can imagine. So software, it's basically, hundreds and thousands of lines of code and, hundreds files and folders and stuff like that, right? So this is how the software looks like in meta form of this definition. After all developers write their code and all their software and all the services and all their little things, technical things, right? It's all compiled into one single kind of like we call it a build. One single build. So build or a version, whatever you like to call it. It's an executable file that then we can install, let's say, on our phone, right? So an application on iOS, it's one file. But inside of it, there are hundreds and thousands of lines of code. So these builds, they constitute kind of like a finished version of a product. And you as a consumer, you see those builds as versions. So let's say every, 2 weeks or every 1 month, you will get an update on your phone. Let's say, update this application. There's a new version, right? And you click update and it updates the new version, for example. But for QA engineers, we see lots of those intermittent versions when we work, which basically have like little changes to the code. So smoke testing says that a QA engineer will do a very basic test to verify that when this version was created or this build was created, that nothing major was broken. And it's really common in lots of cases, there actually something will be broken in that sense. So usually smoke test, it's a short 30-minute test, which will cover basic functionalities of an application. Let's make an example out of Instagram. So if I would be working as a QA engineer for Instagram, I would do a basic smoke test by, going to an application, what would I do on Instagram? Uploading a photo, sharing a photo, commenting, liking, and so on. Okay. After that, I would say, okay, it looks fine. The funny thing is, because usually if something goes wrong, you will see it right away. So if something went wrong, you will see that the application will crash. You will see that, the screen goes blank, goes white. Your phone gets caught on fire, especially if you have a Samsung. But the purpose of smoke testing is to identify critical problems early enough and not really spend time on in-depth testing. Okay? So it's kind of like a first step, first check. All right? Okay, so final testing type that we will cover today, and it's very common. It's super common, and I will explain what it means. Regression testing. Regression testing ensures that the new changes in the software do not break any existing functionalities. This type of testing verifies that features that used to work still work. A regression bug is a defect which did not exist in an earlier version of the product. So imagine, let's say we work for, again, let's make an example out of Instagram. You work for an Instagram company, which is Facebook, right? And you test an application. So let's say 3 months ago, you would your engineers would introduce the functionality where you can like photos, like someone's photos, right? You would create a test case to check that actually this thing works. So you can like other people's photos. So 3 months ago it worked because you tested it. 2 months ago you retested it, it worked. 1 month ago you retested it, it worked. And for some reason, these, like you tried today and it doesn't work. What this means? It means that something or someone, developer, broke something in the code of an existing functionalities. So something that used to work right now doesn't work. It means that our code did not progress, right? Because technically the code's supposed to progress, but it regressed. So we made our code worse. Hence the name, regression testing. We check for regressions. We check for things that used to work, but now they don't. So regression bug is it's a defect which did not exist in the earlier version of the product. Okay. Now you basically ask, like, what is the difference between all three types? They sort of like do the same thing. They kind of like cover the same functionality. And the answer is timing. The difference between those three types is timing. So imagine timeline of our work as a QA engineers. We follow release cycles. We know that every 2 weeks, let's say, we need to release a new software. So, and within, let's say, those 2 weeks, some new features will come up. So new buttons will be added, new pictures will be loaded, right? So within those 2 weeks, we'll be performing exploratory testing, especially when we need to test a new functionality, something that was never something that is new and we didn't have that before. For that, we will require exploratory testing. So we do it pretty much throughout the thing. Smoke testing we perform only when there's a new cut of this new build. Okay. So smoke testing is common, and usually developers will tell you, like, hey, Yuri, we just created a new build. We included a bunch of changes to it. Can you just do a quick smoke test? What they mean is, like, just play around with this application for like 30 minutes. If your phone doesn't get caught on fire, we're good. And test case pass. Regression testing. Technically, we can always find regression testing, regression issues. But for us, regression testing, it's very important towards the end of release cycle, because towards the end of release cycle, we basically say that, okay, so all the test cases we have all the test cases we have, we need to go through all of them to make sure we didn't accidentally break anything that existing, right? So there's usually the development stops probably about 3 to 4 days before release, usually on average. And then where QA engineers go through regression testing or full regression testing, which means that throughout, during this time, there will be no changes to the code, and we will have plenty of time making sure that nothing major was broken throughout the regression testing. Does it make sense, guys? I hope it does make sense. Yay, it does make sense. All right. Okay, so that's it from my end today, and we will start with more things tomorrow. Okay.
Yuri, actually, I have some questions for you. I have a question from Fatima. Is it safe to say that regression test is performed
when the bug is resolved? There's actually kind of like a different name, which is called sanity testing, which we're not going to touch today, but it is also falls under the regression testing as well, right? If in the bigger things of in the bigger scheme of things. So again, these types of testing, they're very high level. They will intersect, and again, there are like 50 different types of them. So don't really try to like overthink those. Okay, these are just like a common titles of things you will be doing throughout the day. You may not even know which type of testing you will be doing because you're just following the instructions. In reality, when you actually get a job, when you actually go to the job, you won't think about what type of testing will I do today. You will forget all these types of testing in a second because it's not important. It's only important for you to get a job and to pass an interview. When you get to your work, you will have a process, you will have things to do, and the last thing you will think about is, oh, what type of testing do I need to do today? Because it's going to be pretty straightforward. Thank you.
Exactly. I totally agree with Yuri. One more question to Yuri.
So
question for
exploratory
from
testing, it's a
Mgenti.
broad approach.
So smoke
Let's
testing
say
is more
I will give you
concise
a
form of
Wikipedia page to
exploratory
explore without any requirements. It will obviously take you hours and hours and hours, right? So it's not really that time boxed. Exploratory testing, it's kind of like a workflow more than a testing technique. By the way, it says that exploratory testing, it's an approach. So exploratory testing, it's a workflow, it's an approach that you will follow throughout the day all the time. So you will be trying to break the software all the time. When developers will send you a new update, you will be trying to break that update all the time as well, throughout the day, throughout months and weeks and so on. So it's an ongoing thing. Smoke testing, it's a very short-lived, very much time-boxed event, which is performed only on previously untested build to just not waste time, because smoke testing is quick. If something is wrong, obviously wrong with it, you will see it right away, which means that you just saved hours of work going in some in-depth testing, or for example, exploratory testing. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Yuri. You will stay with us just in case you're going to have questions. Thank you so much. Guys, as I promised, I'm going to answer all of your questions now. And just in case you're going to have personal questions, you can always email advisors@carreras.com. If you have very personal questions, you can email us. The rest I will answer right now. If you're going to have questions tomorrow, you also are welcome to email us. And let's see. I have a question, something about tomorrow. Tomorrow, guys, I'm not sure what you mean by tomorrow, because our next lesson going to be, you see, this is the schedule. And the next lesson going to be on Sunday. Okay? So the lesson is going to be Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Cool. Let's see. I will start reading the list of the questions that were already marked. And in case you're going to have more questions, I will answer the rest. Let's see. Would we get certificates? Yes, definitely you will get certificates after you finish the program, of course. By the way, most companies, just for you to know, don't really are looking for certificates. They are looking for you to be confident, to know what, how, and what to answer, to have a nice resume and LinkedIn with real on-hand experience that you can prove with references. That's what they're looking for. Someone confident, someone who knows what he's talking about, prepared to pass the interview and do and perform the job. They're not looking for certificates, okay? But definitely you'll get a certificate. I just want you to understand that what you need is what you're gonna get from us in this program. How long should we work as manual QA before learning automation? I think depends on you. I recommend at least to work a few months before you start getting into automation, to be more confident and focused on your first job. But it's up to you. If you feel confident from day one or first week, great, start learning automation. It's going to be highly recommended. On average, how many hours a day do full-time remote manual QA work? That's a good question. I don't think that we have the average, but I can tell you from what I see. Of course, you're going to get paid 8 hours per day, 5 days a week, 40 hours per week, both full-time and contract. In both, you're going to work pretty much around those numbers. To be more specific, you're going to be paid for this amount of hours. If you're a contract, and if full-time, it's going to be pretty much the same. So basically, you're going to be paid for that, but it doesn't mean that you're actually going to be actively working during that time. I can tell you that from what I see, sometimes the job requires you to be 8 hours per day at work, actively working. In some places, it's going to be 6. In some places, it's going to be 4. In some places, it's going to be 3, 2. It really depends on the company. But don't be surprised if you're going to be able to finish your tasks and duties and whatever you need to do at work in 3-4 hours and still get paid for it. That's just from what I see around. It doesn't mean that you will have this specific situation. I think actually it's better to work 8 hours per day to be more professional, to get more experience, to to be able to tell more about what you were doing at work. I think that for someone who's new in the industry, more you work, it's better for you. But don't be surprised if you will not really have to work a lot, okay? How many hours a day the internship requires? Well, at least 2 hours per day. You want more, you can do more. What is the schedule of the internship? Super flexible. You can choose morning, evening, lunchtime, during the weekends, whatever gonna best work for you. The internship gonna be very, very flexible regarding that, to work with you on the best time that works for both of you, but they always try to do their best to help everyone. Are most jobs are salary or a contract? It's 50-50. Really, if it was like 60-40, I would tell you, but it's 50-50 from what we see, contract and full-time. Our graduates are getting full-time and contract 50% of the time, 50-50. I wanted to know which more, but they're very similar right now. Okay, if it will change, if it will be 70-30, we will let you know. Right now, for the past 4 years, we see it's around 50-50. Okay? Seems like a lot of companies are ticket-based, so it's up to you when to get them done. Pretty much, you have your deadlines, but overall, as long as you're gonna, finish your tasks and duties, you're good. So some managers, some teams will not care about like if it's gonna be in 2 hours or in 8 hours or in tomorrow. So if they just tell you, hey, you need to finish that till this time or this day, you can do it faster, right? Is Java application service included or separated? It's included. The Java application service, which allows you to gather the relevant positions in one place to save your time and effort applying for jobs, definitely going to be part of the service. Okay. Do we get certificates after the graduation? Of course, you are. Let's see. Will we be performing this test at all levels? What do you mean by that? I believe that it's relevant to the part of the jurist lesson, probably. I hope he answered that before. I'm not sure what you mean by will we be performing this test at all levels. Well, you do it on the functional level, on the UI level, on the user experience level. That's where we are practicing that. Will tonight's session gonna be emailed? Tonight or tomorrow? Tomorrow you will see it in your email, in inbox or spam or promotions folders. We do send you the recording each and every time. Okay, so no need to ask about it again. We're always going to send it to you. Cool, awesome. Let me just put here the email so you can write it down. So when you find defect on exploratory testing, you will not notify to the developer. Of course you will. So basically, whenever you explore the application, and exploratory testing is pretty much just going into the app, playing with that, going to different buttons, clicking different buttons, going to different pages, right? That's what we mean by exploratory. And once you see something strange, weird, broken, something that looks like a bug, that feels like a bug, we're definitely going to report it, okay? Regarding certification, I already answered that certificate, you definitely, it's not what's going to help you to get the job. Of course, you will have someone that's going to try to sell you certificates, but you don't need those, because to get the job making 65 to 100K, 33 to 50 per hour in 2-4 months, you don't need that. All you need is just follow our instructions and witness the results. Can non-functional testing be performed with no coding knowledge? Of course, of course. Of course, you don't need any coding for manual testing, okay? Even for like performance testing, usually they just gonna tell you, go here, click this, check this, look here, okay? You don't need coding for manual QA, just you don't. Documentation, almost like a form of things to check on the project you're working on. Yes, actually it means different things. It could be the requirements, right? The specs, the design, it's also documentation, but as well, the test cases are documentation as well. Are the majority of jobs are full-time or part-time? So full-time, when you say full-time, I mean 8 hours per day, and 50% are full-time and 50% are contract. In both cases, 5 days a week, 8 hours per day. Quizzes and homework, how many days to finish this? Guys, it's going to be simple and easy quizzes that you're going to have after pretty much every lesson, but it's just to make sure that you were listening during the lesson. Just It's going to be simple. It's not going to be complicated. Just listen to the lesson, and I'm sure you will not have any problems with the quizzes at all. The homework is something else that you're going to have maybe a few times or even once. So don't worry about that. It's not going to be time consuming. It will not take more than 15 minutes for most of you. So don't worry about the quizzes at all. Is there high school dropouts that pursue this career? Yes, we do have success stories of people that didn't have even high school diploma, I'm sorry, and they just are making 110K remotely right now in Chicago, for example. Okay, we definitely have a story like that, but it doesn't matter if you have education or you don't have education. You are all welcome. You all will be able to get this job in 2 to 4 months, getting 65 to 100K. Of course, if you have a technical background, that's great. You will get the job even faster. But the rest of you that are not, it's probably 90+% of the people here, like me, I didn't have any technical background. Like Yuri, he didn't have any technical background. Like most of our teachers that didn't have any technical background before getting into this industry. And we all got those jobs, and we already helped thousands of people in 40 states to get those jobs. And we are very, very, very proud of it. Let's see what else. So gray box would be considered as software development engineering test. Not necessarily, because sometimes you're going to be doing the gray box testing in some cases. Most of you will not. Most of you will do black box testing. But let's assume that 5 to 10% will potentially do something a little bit more complicated, which is going to be probably gray box testing. For example, using Chrome Dev Tools, right, to see the HTML and the CSS of the style of the page, something basic, something that most people can learn, I don't know, in 20 minutes, okay? But it's already more complicated than just clicking buttons. It's already looking into the source code of the page, okay? So just, double checking the color, the size, the font, the text. So this is just an example of a gray box testing. It's considered more gray box than black box for sure, okay? Let's see. Most job listings read 2, 3, 5 years experience. Can you elaborate? That's a great question, and I agree with you. Yes, most companies, remember I told you 80% of the companies will ask you for more experience, more knowledge, more tools, more automation, more this, more that. Remember in the beginning, I was telling you that most companies will ask you for more. And yes, we know about that. It's part of the game. They ask for more, but eventually they cannot find someone experienced, someone with that knowledge that will work for less than $110,000, $115,000. And that's why those 70, 80, 90, 100K jobs will get to manual QA like you, will get to our graduates. And that's what we see and we witness every single day now. So yes, they're going to ask you for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. You're still going to apply there. Why? Because the first will tell you no, the second will tell you no, the first 10 will tell you that they don't like something, but the next one will call you for the interview. And if you're going to follow our instructions, you will witness that very soon, and you're going to be very well prepared for that interview, and you will get this job. That's how it works. It's not something new. It's been around for the past 20 years. Okay? But we decided that we don't want to create another program, another course, or a boot camp. We wanted to fix the problems that other traditional programs, courses, boot camps had, and that's why we created Careerist, okay? To make things much more simple, much more easy, much more fast. What's the percentage of graduates that find a job in the field? So guys, it's very simple. Those that are going to follow the instructions, and when I say instructions, what I mean, watching the lessons, joining the internship, starting the mentorship, being nice and friendly with your mentor, working one-on-one, getting your answers, attending graduate meetings, or at least watching graduate meetings that we're going to have every Saturday until you get the job. Okay, very simple. Just follow those instructions. Those that are going to do that, 95% are getting the jobs. 5% usually have English problems or soft skills problems. For example, if you cannot look into the eyes during the interview, you will not get the job. Okay, some people are going to look aside for some reason, and it's okay. People are different. We cannot bring 100% because it's impossible. People are different. Out of 100, you will have few that are going to have problems during the interview with some soft skills that we of course try to help as well with, but sometimes it's not possible. That's why it's not 100%, it's 95%. Those that are going to follow the instructions get the job in 2 to 4 months of job search. Those that are not following the instructions, they are wasting their time, they're wasting their effort. Eventually they might get the job as well, but it's going to take them much longer. So we created this program not to make it longer, to make it shorter, and to help you get it with maximum possible rate and minimum possible time. What's the key to advancing in the QA field? Well, to pay attention to details, to be detail-oriented, of course, to be the voice of the customer, to be very nice and friendly, and with the time to learn new tools, to start learning automation in the future. That's definitely something that's going to help you to move forward in this industry, or to become more involved, leading a team, taking responsibilities from your manager, and then you can grow into leadership, becoming a lead, a manager, or a director. What company the internship is with? A great question. We have different companies. We have different internships. Some companies join, some companies leave. We'll just give you some companies, they have NDA with us. So here is just an example of an internship that we had until recently with Variety.com. Now we have new internships, new companies. Some of them you will learn once you're going to get them. But what you need is not that. What you need is to show experience at a real company, doing web and mobile testing, doing bug reporting using Jira, using TestRail, using the right tools, the right platform devices. That's what you're going to get in the resume, in the LinkedIn. You will know it very well. You will be able to tell about it, about the project, about the team, and basically that's what's going to help you to get this job really quick. Is age is an issue? Say older, early 50s. So first of all, we are not ageist. Everyone is welcome. We have graduates, 18 years old and 65 years old, who not only learned with us, but also got jobs making 80, 85K. That's the stories that I remember in that age group. Definitely, companies prefer 21 to 30, up to 35, but who cares about that? Because if you're 37, like, why would you care what they prefer? Because you have so many opportunities, you have so many companies, you have so many positions. Just need one company to give you the job, okay? You don't need to listen what they prefer. No, you are you. We will make sure that your resume and LinkedIn and preparation will be the best of the best. But you will get the job even if you're 55 and 60 and 65. It's about you. It's not about the age. Because some companies will like to hire you just for diversity in the age groups. If they see that you are professional, confident, you know what you're talking about. Of course, whenever you are over 60,
you definitely need to be a good user of your laptop, of your mobile device. You need to know how to use Google, YouTube, your email. You should not ask same questions twice. That's something that could happen with the age. But as long as you're sharp and whatever I just mentioned, it doesn't matter how old you are. You can get the job even if you're 60 and 65. We have 60 and 65-year-old got a job in New York and Atlanta, Georgia, making $85,000. I remember them both. So definitely, it's not about age. How about QA jobs in Canada? Well, you have much less QA jobs in Canada, but it doesn't mean anything because you're still going to get the job because you have less people looking for jobs in Canada than, for example, in US. So don't worry about that. Just focus, prepare well, apply to all possible jobs whenever you are ready for the job search and you verified it with someone experienced, someone who's going to mentor you, someone who knows this industry well. Okay. Can you job stack as a manual QA? For example, could you do 2 jobs at once if they are both remote? Well, theoretically, yes. Is it legal? I don't know. I would go and talk with a lawyer about that. But I think I heard some stories about people getting 2 jobs working in 2 places, especially if this is a very simple job that you can manage your tasks in a few hours a day, then definitely it's possible to combine it with another job. I heard stories about that. Will we get access to the Slack chat? Of course, all of you are going to have a channel, a Slack channel. All those that are going to join the program, you will be able to have this community of our students, and then you're going to have a community, Slack also community of our graduates. Okay? Is Knoxville a good place to get a job? I don't know where it is, but it doesn't really matter. First of all, you can check dice.com. Second, it doesn't matter because remotely, most of the jobs are remotely. So you don't care. You can get a job anywhere you want in the US. Okay? Is it possible to work in a company in the US while living in Canada? So you will have the internship from the company in the US, and yes, you can do it from Canada remotely. Now, can you get a job in US for you are being a Canadian from Canada, getting a job in US? I would go to immigration lawyer. I don't know about it. I can tell you that our graduates in Canada getting jobs in Canada, okay? And they're getting jobs maybe with American companies, but that hire in Canada. Hope it makes sense. While the internship, what if you don't know how to do a task? First of all, don't worry, it's super simple. Second, during the internship, we have the first is internal project with us, which is like a pre-internship, something that prepares you for the internship. So of course, you will have their answers and support, so don't worry. Our company is hiring for AI testing. Well, I'm pretty sure they are, but it's something considerably new. I never really remember anyone getting this AI testing role, but I'm pretty sure that they have those. Definitely it's gonna come very soon, but basically at this kind of roles, you basically do what you're told. You get a set of test cases and you just execute those and you do what you're told. So regarding the age, I hope that I answered your question. And definitely if you're in your 40s and 50s, you will get the job. Okay, don't worry about that. It might take you a little bit longer. Instead of 2 to 4 months, maybe 5, maybe 6. Okay, but you're still gonna get the job. Example of a company that we have internship with is Verizon.com. I already answered that, just in case, remind. Is there a proficiency test at the end of the program? Yes, of course, but you should definitely not worry about it. Remember I told you don't worry about doing the job? Don't. It's going to be very simple. Just don't worry. Just listen carefully, follow the instructions. Everything will become much more clear till the end of the program, I promise you. If you're going to see something complicated or sophisticated, rule number one, most likely you will never need it at work. Please remember, if you see something sophisticated and complicated, most likely that you will never need it at work in manual testing, in manual QA, but you still want to learn it, you want to understand it, because they might ask you about it during the interview. Okay? Now I believe you will feel a little bit better, okay? Because it's going to be very simple. Don't worry about something that's going to be complicated. It's not going to be complicated because it's manual QA. It cannot be complicated, or very rarely it can be complicated. Cool. Let's see. Among the 3 types of testing, which one is done by QA? All of them, but usually you just do black box. Manual QA, just do black box testing most of the time. And if you do other type of testing, they just tell you how to do it, and it's not going to be complicated in 95% of the cases. I already answered that. What key area is testing completed for a data warehouse solutions? I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you mean. Testing completed for data warehouse solutions? Sorry, not sure what you mean. What is software QA career bundle? Great question. So the bundle is basically the manual QA plus the automation together. Okay, this is the bundle in the middle. Let's see what else. What if you have experience in that area already? Do I still need the internship? No, you don't. If you have experience in QA and you already worked in QA and you can show this experience and you can prove this experience with references, I don't think you need an internship. But if you don't, you definitely need the internship. Okay? Okay. By the way, if you have experience with gaps, for example, for the past year, you didn't work, you definitely need the internship. So they are all the same things, just different names. Yes, manual testing, software testing, QA tester, QA analyst, software QA engineer, and the rest of the titles that we showed you are about the same kind of job. Would it be beneficial to know basic coding skills? Well, I think it's going to distract you from focusing on manual QA, so I recommend to not focus on coding skills at all and focus just on manual QA, on getting the job after your mentorship. After you get the job, yes, of course, I recommend to learn whatever you want. And of course, coding would be nice too. But first get the job, because otherwise coding might distract you. Not might, it will distract you. And it's going to be a problem. So that's why I focus right now on getting the job in manual QA, getting your 65 to 100K salaries. It's going to be around 75 on average. I'm sure that if you're going to be confident, it's going to be 100K as well. And coding, you can always learn after. If you work in one state and get a job, say in California, do you pay taxes in both states? No, you pay taxes according to where do you live. So if you are in Florida and you got a job in California, you'll pay less taxes because you live in Florida. Lucky you. Cool. I answered that. Now, guys, to be honest, I was reading the questions that were highlighted. If I missed your question, I apologize, and I will try my best to answer it right now. If you have the question, I don't want to miss it. How can I get a career shirt? That's a great question. You can email advisors@careers.com and double check that. But yeah, it's definitely very awesome and cool. Thank you. How long will I have access to JAS, to Java Application Service? As long as you're going to need it to getting a job, you will have it. Can we go home? Can we sleep? Yes, you can. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being with us. We're going to meet very soon, hopefully on Sunday, on lesson number 2. Until then, I hope that everyone will be able to join our program. I hope that I didn't miss your questions. And if I missed someone, I really apologize. You can email at my advisors@careers.com, but it looks like I answered everyone. Thank you very much, and see you soon, guys. Bye-bye.